I don't have any preference of the colors. I mean, pink is very seldom that I do, but I love all the colors. Every time I'm like it. I love sketching on my free time. Who doesn't, right? It's very creative and relaxing. But if you have a business, you can spend too much time sketches. And that jobs actually disappeared later and later because it's such a quick pace industry that people don't have time to sketch. Of course, you need to like sketch it first to figure out what you're doing, you know, and refer back to the sketch. Sketching is a very good skill to have. So I sketched this like all sorts of different jackets that I've already created, you know, because these jackets, I always take the challenge of create something new, but honestly, there's nothing new that you can create. Because I had personally thought that we all get inspiration from each other, what's going on at the fashion shows, what's in Instagram, everywhere. Like, I like this sleeve, I like this, I'm gonna combine this. Design to me is to have a taste and the skill, and you know, and you just and sense of color. Don't you agree? Right? You know, and then you create something according to your taste, and if you have a skill, you can actually make it happen, right? And have your own identity. This lady, I love her. She's my friend and a very unique designer and very talented. She's got her own. She's very truthful to her taste and her aesthetics. You know, I like that kind of designer. I'm not that type. I'm like multiple personality disorder in a positive way. I do whatever I feel like making it. I know what's right. Like, so I feel like I want to do the evening wear. I feel like I want to do the casual wear. I feel like that. I'm just gonna create whatever. People tell me, but I don't care. Okay, but it's good to have a certain aesthetics and stay true to that aesthetics. It's very, and buyers are looking for that kind of designer. So they say like, I buy this already from somebody else. I'm not gonna buy from you. And it's just like, we're gonna come back to you for the certain aesthetics if you can stay, you know. Okay, so now the technical package. We created a technical package. In the industry, a creative designer is supposed to create the first technical package. And it was a disaster. When I was getting the technical packages from the creative designers that I loved, they all were my best friends. I said, no, you can't do like 34 inches sweep with 39-inch low hip. That's never gonna work. Because we know, you know, I know the pattern maker. I've been doing it all the time. Yes, it's great that you create, but run it through a good pattern maker before you send it to the factory, because factories, especially in China, are very much like, I'll do whatever they tell me, I don't care. You know, they're not gonna tell you that you did something wrong. They're gonna follow you, you get disaster. And they tell you, you told me so. So, because actually I don't blame them, they don't have time. You know, they work under so much pressure and have to get that. I was traveling to China every 6 months. I love these people, they're such a hardworking people. And they used to treat me with this much files, like, you did wrong. You sent us this wrong information. See what kind of comments we're getting from technical designers. We don't know what to do. You know, like, they are getting frustrated from misinformation from here, and they don't have time to argue with you and offer you. But if you work with Germany or Japan, I work with Japan, I was like, 1/16 to 3/32, like, they are so precise, and they want, like, they're gonna come back to you and offer you, and they take a lot more practice. Every country have a different culture of working. So you need to, if you work with different cultures, you gotta have to not exactly speaking their language, you gotta figure out how they work, you know. And I can tell you so much, but because I work with all over the world countries. So, so we do the technical package, and I take pride in my communication skill. I I was a geophysicist in my old life in my country. So my math teacher told me that the math actually helps people to develop good logic. So good logic is a good communication skill. So you gotta communicate really well in the technical packages to overseas factories because they are foreigners, so they have to have somebody translate, and the translator doesn't exactly understand the technical language, so you have to be very precise and very like lots of pictures and less words, and just put yourself in their shoes that they don't speak the same language and that somebody have to translate it, and they have to do it fast. So I'm trying always like the specification that atomical figure. Turkey told me that I have the longest specification in the industry. So I give lots of specifications because I know they need this, like where is the pocket? How wide is the pocket? How wide is the lapel? All of these things. If you're a designer, you want to have a control. You don't want them to design from your sketch, right? Like you want to get what you want, so you gotta give that specifications. Or if you create a product yourself, it's also important to those specifications because then you can see fabric shrinks, you know, like I've seen horrible shrinkage or growing, all sorts of reaction. Or you see they follow your pattern. I've seen that too when they cut extra from the pattern and you figure out what happened. I have a spec, I can check. So the specification in the technical package is important. Then I do I also do a how to measure because everyone measures differently. So I have like my table, and when I went to China, I would demonstrate how you measure exactly, because believe me, you know, you can even the muscle, you know, you do on this angle or that angle, you get completely different measurements. So I clearly communicate this, how to measure my measurements. And then I do the construction page of how, I mean, what is the difference from my jacket to another jacket that's been around for 100 years, right? It's the fabric quality, construction, and the fit, right? So if I want to be suit business, I need to do these three. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. Before I started my business of creating suits, because I was really strong at like pattern making the jackets, and I used to be given some Gucci and Prada, honestly, jackets at Federated when I did INC label, and we would put in my fit was better than that fit, and it was like blowing out of the stores because for American customer it works better, you know. And when you're working in a small companies, they don't exactly have like a really great professionals doing the fit. They have a great design, they have a great fabric, the fit not so much. I've seen that before. So construction of how, like in the tailoring, there's an ease here, there's this ease here, with the pressing, you can, that's why I did all this little tailoring technique in this video to show how the jackets are tailored. I cannot produce my suits in United States if I have, there's very few companies in New York that can make the suits, but it's gonna cost me like, they tell me, okay, sample's gonna cost you $500, but after we make a sample, we'll tell you how much the production's gonna be. Wait a minute, I can make sample. So if the sample is not good, I wasted my $500. If your prices later is very high, it's very expensive. Okay, there's a few companies that make suits like Pointer, Schulzler, and the jackets are $2,500. Yes, if I have a customer, yes, but this jacket is gonna retail at a Garbarini for $625. It's a steal for the quality and construction and the fit, and it competes with the jackets within the same price point. It's like 100 times better. And the reason I studied the jacket, because I did go to Neiman Marcus. I tried all the jackets from the brands that I want to compete with. I have some pictures. Not good. Not good. I'm not bragging. I'm honestly telling you the truth. The best jacket that I really loved was Ralph Lauren Purple Label. It was $2,500. That it was to my standard. I put it on. It was perfect. The fabric. And I don't have like any different kind of figure. I have like a standard figure. Doesn't mean that I'm like beautiful. It means like within all the body types, I have something in between. There's like, I can tell you much about body types. Like hourglass, straight. I always look at you because I know you teach all this stuff. So yeah, you probably heard this stuff like that you learn at school. So I also worked as a fit model, and I worked with like 100 million fit models, so I know what the fit's supposed to be. And when you can't move your arm, or the scissoring here, or the neck is too tight here, it's not a good fit. So that's why I felt like, okay, I can make this better, and maybe I can grow my brand, and that's my goal. So always research your competition. Anything that you're trying to do, research what other people are doing, and if you feel like you can beat that, then you do it, but don't do it less than somebody else is doing. It's going to be really tough. Even in this way, it's very tough business. And if I'm doing something inferior to what others were doing, I don't think I would get up every day and do it. Okay, so the construction details, you can look closely and see, like, the dart need to be pressed open, the seam pressed open, lapel here pressed open seams. Open seams are always better. I've seen some seams that are like, deep. Also, it depends on the fabric. You have to analyze the fabric, what construction you want to do. This first sample, after this, came back like half of it was not followed, I give them 10-page, don't get me started. I have like a 10-page comments after I get the first sample. And factory was like, you are too professional, we can't work with you. I had that email from a factory, too professional, we can't work with you. Or, we're going to increase price because you want it perfect. They don't like me. Because, or if there's a factory that wants to learn, they love me because they feel like, we can actually improve our product because she's teaching us the right standard. Okay, so now let's talk about the, this is just the inside of the day. I'm glad they get to keep this here like this, and there's a special tape here to control the roll of the jacket because this angle is a bias, so it can stretch, so I want this angle to be nice and sharp. So again, every fabric has a different requirement. I made all this. So like here, see the bump here? This is a bust projection, right? The women have bust, and when you make the ready to wear, I consider bust like 34B, like something in between, not too busty. If I do custom, then I'll look at the customer and figure out the bust. And when I do the bust projection, I don't have just one dart. So there's a dart, and then there's a little ease here, because if I just do one dart, it'll be like very pointy. So I'm trying to avoid darts too deep. Also, they have to look good on the hanger. And they also have to look, jackets have to look good when you wear it open, because I've seen the jackets people wear like here, right? So this fits perfect. How do I look? Right. So this looks perfect on, right? Like it has a nice bust projection and everything. But when I wear it open, I don't want the boobies on the side. You've seen that, right? And that's why I want to do minimal without too much. Those are the things. Am I crazy? Like paying attention? Okay. Just a little crazy. Yeah. So these are the things I'm paying attention. And this here in the factory is done by the machine, like boom, fast. The special machines, it takes me like 4 hours to make this. pockets, a lot of work, lots of precision, lots of work. I put on YouTube how to make it, but I've seen at the factory they have amazing equipment and they do it really fast. That's why, you know, the cost is so hard to, like, for the consumer to pay. They're gonna see with this kind of pocket, you know, cost like, you know, $100, the same jacket, and if they come to me, I have to charge according to my time that I spent, you know. And sometimes they'll tell me, some people ask me about the pattern making, and I said I don't offer pattern making services because I don't have a system. I would have done it for you, but then find somebody that has a machine and can do it faster. You know, like always think of equipment that people have to get things faster. You know? So again, like now I have buttons. Buttons. I am very like you as a designer. You probably pay a lot of attention to buttons. For the jackets, horn buttons are great. I like to use horn, or I like to use mother of pearl buttons. Even for men or women, I like both type of buttons. But then there's a racing button. There is a well, I do like these buttons too. The what's it called? This button with the shank and metal buttons. But these metal buttons, be very careful. There's a lot are very cheap looking and like plasticky looking, but there's some companies that make really great. These are like high quality metal buttons that I use and I buy domestically or in Italy. And the Corozo button, buffalo horn button, expensive, but I love. Don't you love horn buttons? Are really great. And they also, this is a resin, it's plastic, but they make it look alike, pretty good. What do I have here? I have pearl button. Oh no, sorry, never mind. I forgot to change, that was a sample and they didn't put the right button. Okay, so now, you know, the back, okay, so I like to put a dot here because, like, again, the projection, we have the bust, we have the blade. For some fabrics, you can put ease, but ease shouldn't show. It is a tailoring technique where ease doesn't show. So if I can do ease with like a soft fabric like this doesn't need a dart, it's too thick, so I would put ease in the, if we can get away with ease, I'll do ease. But I'm worried with the factory, they're gonna stretch instead of easing, they do that. So if I can put a dart and I'm done, I'll put a dart. Because I know they apply, I can see. Because I've seen them remove it, like they take so much shortcuts, it's crazy. Okay, so here is this, and you know, back, I have like a shape for your butt here, and this is all three-dimensional. It was really hard to keep it flat. That's why you see this, because it has all these shapes and dimensions. In color, I love doing the right color, and I have like also a certain technique of doing color. It's even this makes a difference. Like this is an open seam, this is a closed seam, so that it holds nicely. All these little details, I'm very obsessed with all the details. And this pocket, chest pocket, again, there's a special machine that does it. I made it by hand. I don't want to see the stitch. You know, also watch the YouTube videos. I learned a lot from YouTube videos. But I watch like couple, 5 of them, and then I'll come up with my own, you know, something that makes sense here and that's here. It's very educational these days. You can learn anything on your own, you know? Okay, so, and then, shoulder pads. Shoulder pads, how are we going to time here? Shoulder pads. So when I was talking to Stefania Van Duke, she's a beautiful, wonderful person to work with. I worked with her on this project. And I was like, gosh, I make my own shoulder pads. I can make shoulder pads, that's crazy. Actually, they paid me for this exhibition, which I'm very grateful. And then but I'm very picky about the shoulder pads because for my jackets and I make samples, I order shoulder pads, and then I always modify. I have some in my Instagram, how I modify my shoulder pads, because I feel like shoulders are first you see on the person, right? Like, and also shoulder pad, the trend is different. I am not following trends usually, but I'm following my instincts. Right now, I feel more shoulder pad towards shoulder pad. You know, I remember I removed shoulder pads from my jackets at some point, but then I put it back and then remove. So now I feel shoulder pads. So, and then I was just like, again, I went to my sources in Italy, said, hey, can you send us the shoulder pads? And this shoulder pad company is amazing. See, I have, like, you know what, I think you designers supposed to have this, like, they actually gave us for free the shoulder pads, so they are the ones that make shoulder pads for Balmain. You know Balmain, the brand, Balmain? So they have these crazy shoulder pads, Balenciaga. I mean, we don't wear those shoulder pads every day, but they look good on the runway. They put on Kim Kardashian and people, wow, you know, like these are very like Balmain jackets have the shoulder pads, and I have a fashion show now on April 5th. You come, no, invited. And I was thinking I'm gonna use this one little exaggerated shoulder pad at least for one something. You know, I feel like I like the shoulder pad. But look at their shoulder pads I use. This is gorgeous, right? I use the shoulder pads like this goes up slightly, right? So this is like this high shoulder pad. This model is very sloped. She doesn't have good shoulders, like, but when you want to see it was on the model, it was a little even more straighter like this. So it show, and these are like fashion shoulder pads that, like, see, you know, for certain fashion. And I keep complaining to the factories, it's like, okay, you the body have a severe curve from here to here, and then it's straight. So they do some, like, they don't follow this body shape. That's what's my most frustration is with ready-made shoulder pad. So always have to slim here, like a thin here, and then, you know, so that it's more gradual. So shoulder pads, and these are very good quality. See how it's thin here? So these guys got it. They are good, but I can't afford them for my jackets. So this is thin here, and it's more like thick here. So the shoulder pad shape, the sleeve head shape makes the jacket, you know, all these things makes the jacket. So here is this, and now buttonholes. We have a problem in Denver. We don't have any buttonhole making service. Like what do I do when I make the jackets? I make handmade buttonholes. It takes me like 2 hours each buttonhole. And then I learn how to make handmade buttonhole. I learned on the video, YouTube video, but you know what? It's handmade buttonhole. It's not necessarily better than the machine-made buttonhole. It's just more time consuming. And there's a machines these days, it costs a lot of money, that makes the buttonhole. In New York, you walk in, it costs $3, and they make you buttonhole right away while you wait. But we don't, I think Kimber is my friend that has a factory. She told me she has a buttonhole machine, but I have to explore and see the quality that they make. So far I've been making, because I make my samples, so I make handmade buttonhole. I have to create a men's jacket now because for the fashion show I like to have at least one men's jacket. Last time I had a men's jacket, it was a huge success. I had like 5 people asking me to buy it, and I sold on the first come first serve. So I'm gonna make the men's jacket with handmade buttonhole. You know, and here is this, and it's like, it needs like 3 different threads to make this handmade buttonhole. A very tricky technique that I had to make like 15 to learn how to make this. If you have a patience and you have passion, you know, that's what it is. So just a quick question, is anyone from you makes the clothing, like to make your own clothing or clothing for the school? Not so much. Start today.
Still learning.
Okay. Yeah. Now the pattern making. Okay. Pattern making. Oh, draping. So like I pick and choose how I work. Sometimes I'll do a flat pattern making, and sometimes I'll do the draping. So this is, I had to demonstrate the perfect draping for the jacket. So I draped this and I recorded the draping of this jacket. So what I pay attention, it's like, see, it says a little ease here. This, we did this so that people don't injure. Uh-oh, some of them are gone. Yes, you know, so like how the fits, but you know what happens? You may drape it perfectly to the dress form, and then you put it on the person, it's not working so much. So, and it's a completely different science how to fit clothes. Then it's the fitting starts, and that's what I'm teaching at my classes. We're gonna make the sample, we're gonna drape the sloper, and then we're gonna fit, and you learn how to fit and make adjustments to the pattern. And then what happens when you drape this and when you transfer it to paper, you have to do lots of modifications to make this paper perfect. So draping is an amazing skill to have. Again, it's so hard to find a good drapers in New York. Constantly people asking me, do you know any good draper, a good draper? You know, because it's sort of like a sculpting, you know, you have to have a talent and a skill. You can't exactly, like when they teach you, they tell me to learn with draping. If I demonstrate, yes, you'll watch, but you won't be able to do it unless you do it yourself with me, you know, and it takes a long time and lots of practice to do draping. I have a dress form. This is my dress forms. These are my mannequins, but this is inexpensive. I have one from Wolf Company. It's like a best dress form that I made 20 years ago, and I love draping all the time on the dress form. And then there's like extra 2 hours to take the drape and put it on the paper. So this is the drape, but the drape tells me, it's very creative process, right? Drape tells me what my color lapel would look like, where would I put the pocket, how do I do this, like everything. Oh, I need to fix this. Okay. So, and then you can see the sleeve balance, how the sleeve have to hang this way or that way, this way. So the draping will help. I don't think it's possible to do just flat pattern making, everything. You need a combination of two. But what happens is once I have a sloper, then I can take the sloper and modify into something else, and it's gonna get easier. When I pass away, I need to find a way to donate I have to put a wheel or something, what to do with my patterns. I have like a library, the boxes of dresses, pants, jackets. I'm not doing this only for 5 years. I've been doing this for 30 years. And most of them are still good. So I need, like, you know, you have to be organized. I have the body charts, and then I go back and I take this and change this. So you need to build your pattern library, and that's very, very useful. Like I have that. And at the companies, we had the same thing. We had the boxes of the patterns, and now olden days, again, it's very different. The industry has changed a lot from the way we were working. I just turned 60, I'm really old. So, 30 years ago, you know, when I started working in the industry, it was just like this old Italian pattern makers standing on their feet and with a large cutting paper, cutting the pattern very slow. Damiano, the Tony, all these like guys, you know, like it was like they were like a little mafia, and they didn't like the Eastern European ladies. I was like, so I had to like, thank you. It's been an honor to talk to them. Really. In this day. Okay, so they were a little tough to work with. You know, they take lots of pride in their work. They're craftsmen. They pass that skill from generation to generation, and they had that their own, you know, world. That's how it works in older days. Now it has changed. So these people were so good, and I was trying to like like learn as much as I could from them. And so they would do on the hard paper. Hard paper is really good because you can do like a smooth, nice lines and and precision. And they had like all these patterns hanging and hanging. But and also what was good with hard paper, if you need to take this hard paper, trace on the soft paper, you can just lay down and really fast and accurately trace on the soft paper. I just made this for the museum. I don't do hard papers, but don't get me started. I have I figured out my own technique of make the perfect patterns in Illustrator. So I make the patterns make the pattern manually. I take a perfect picture, and then I put in Illustrator, and I do lots of work to perfect it. All this because the hand paper pattern is never possible to do it perfect, paper wrinkles and stuff. So then I perfect it in Illustrator, and then I learn how to group and how to transfer to DXF file, and then I send this DXF file to the factory. I don't trust any factory to make any patterns for me because I did that, it doesn't work. And here, in the cutters must, you probably do you have a pattern making classes at Ramcat? Yeah, right? So cutters must, you just list all the pieces of the patterns, which is fused, which is not, so it gives you a nice, accurate list of the patterns, and you keep your patterns very organized. I have everything in, not everything, but most of the important, like this, I made this, and I have it in the computer, and now this is my basic jacket. I really want to increase the lapel on this, I want it shorter, I want a puffy sleeve, all sorts of stuff. You can do all sorts of stuff. Now this is my pride issue. I'm so proud of this suit. So again, when Stefania told me that I would do, I said, can you let me have one of my design, like freedom of expression, one of my design and the display. I'm not as well known to be next to Dior and stuff in the main hall, but that's been a really great honor for them to allow me to have one of my designs here. And I tell you, I'm a small company. I'm gonna stay small forever. I'm not gonna be a big fashion brand. Don't have that ambitious because I want to enjoy life in Colorado, and it's from Colorado. It's really hard to create the big brand, and big brand means more employees, more warehouse, more. I like to work from home studio. I like to teach and keep my small business. So I created this just because I was really used this motif to create like a frame for the sleeve. As you see, there's a whole leaf coming this way, and this is like a framing the sleeve to emphasize this motif and the shoulder. So what is the difference for this jacket? It's the fabric, it's this sleeve detail, the shoulder pad, and the fit. So we did, I don't know, it's showing here, we had model walk and try Ahbreena. She was perfect. I actually created for this, and I found a model that fits her perfect. And it was very fulfilling to see something so beautiful. So one thing I want to tell you about the small business, I want to share my experience with you as future, if you want to do small business in the fashion industry. It's very hard. The reason is hard, any small business is hard, because good factories don't want to work doing small quantities. The developing of the product is very expensive. So when I make one sample, it costs me money, time, seeing 2-3 samples from the factory. So I already spent lots of money personally, right? But a factory also spends lots of time and money to develop something. Once it's done, like you develop the product, they want to produce 3,000 because that's when they're going to make money, because they have to train the sewers to create what I want, right? If they have to train the sewers for 30 garments, they're going to be losing money. So that's what's very, very challenging for create a mass produce in a small quantities. That's why all these companies that start small, they are looking to expand, because now my style minimum is 50. No factory want to work with me unless I create 50 per style, right? And how am I supposed to sell 50? It's a lot of work. I have 2 good accounts. They order like 12 each, right? And then I have to spend lots of time trying to market it. So in a small business, think of half of your time goes marketing and marketing and marketing. It's very challenging. Okay. Huh?
When I walked in, you were saying you're like they're like the mafia. They didn't want to work.
Automakers in New York industry were
Italians in
mostly
New York.
Italians, and they would hang out. They had the hangout place in Garment Center, in a suits and stuff, right? And then they were very protective of their skills. If I was young and I was working as a technical designer, and if I go there and ask questions, they were not sharing too much. So they were trying to pass that skill to they had the apprentice, cousin, Tony, and yeah, I even one time this pattern maker Domiano says to me, and there's a Pat Bellello, I was constantly fighting with him. He's like, no Eastern European tells me what to do. You know, like I said, this pants doesn't exactly fit right. No, factory messed up. No, you messed up, and he started it. So I had a little conflict with yeah, but they were very skilled, very craftsmen, and amazing pattern makers. That I remember Ralph Lauren have like pattern maker, 85-year-olds, like still working there. You know, they're making these beautiful jackets, right? The designer sketched and pattern maker makes it happen, right? Yes, design is very important. Picking the fabric, picking the silhouette, they sit at the fitting, saying, oh, increase the lapel, do this, but somebody have to execute. So execution is as equally important as design. And the Italian pattern makers in New York were really famous for, you know, great execution. And then what happened is this, part B, he said, you know what, I want to get rid of the sample room. I want to, China tells me they can make everything. We just have to send them picture and the tech pack and they can make everything. You have to fire these pattern makers. And I was in a really awkward position because they are doing a great job. I know how that works. When you pass the tech pack and the sketch to overseas, doesn't necessarily comes right. And that's when disaster started, when they let the pattern makers go and started everything vertical. They bought this special equipment that do like, rotates it and expecting overseas to fix it. But overseas, I used to go there and I had the case when I go to Turkey and I tried the Tommy Hilfiger jacket. I can't move my arm. Oh, what happened? I can't move my arm. And let me see the pattern, what you did. So I had the arrow going this way and they went opposite way. There's lots of things lost in communication again. When you do the diagrams, so company wanted us to do a diagram and then correct the patterns because pattern makers charged very high salaries and they were cutting the cost. And then the overseas correction doesn't cost them money. They cost them only samples. Do you know what I mean? So they said, okay, but it's going to take technical designer like 1 hour to do the comment versus the pattern maker 6 hours to correct the pattern. Why don't we save the cost? And the pattern technical designers give a little diagrams and overseas pattern makers. Yes, if you get lucky, there's a tri-state, was a great factory I worked with in China that interpreted my diagrams really well, but sometimes there's a miscommunication. And like I said, I couldn't move my arm, so I'm glad I was there, I could fix it. So that's what the change happened in the industry. So less pattern makers and more technical designers, but also challenges in the industry that I've encountered a lot when the technical designers doesn't exactly have a pattern making experience and they can't tell pattern makers what to do if you haven't done their job. You know, there's a technical design degree that is 4 years in the industry at FIT, but I felt like when I first started in '95, I designed my clothes, I cut on the floor, and I sold it to local boutique. I struggled with pattern making. I struggled, I didn't know how to do the sizing, how to do this. So that's why I went and studied pattern making. So I thought, I can sketch, I can create, but I don't know how to execute it, you know, and I didn't know where to go and ask somebody how to execute it. But when that is gone and they try to cut corner, then that's why there's a problems when you go to the store and clothes doesn't fit. How many of you felt like clothes doesn't fit at the department stores? You know why? Yeah, because, you know why? Because they're rushing. It doesn't mean the designers don't know what they're doing. They can see it's a problem, but oh, we gotta meet delivery day. The buyer's gonna cancel the order if we don't deliver. And they rush it, trying to see if they can get away with it, you know? And that's how it happens. So that's a great skill to have. So that's why I'm trying to pass on my skill.